So you told us over the summer you know who'd be playing the star come week one. So who is it?
Who's going to be the star?
Yeah.
It looks like we got a couple of guys, but Sully, he's done a great job, picking up where he left off last year. And then we've actually worked Jair in there. So that's another good plus for us. And then worked Savage in there. So come Sunday at 3:25 Eastern, you'll know we're going to be lining up there.
If you guys are on defense first.
Yeah.
But,
Well, they got to show up anyway. So
I know you're not going to give away secrets, but philosophically, would you guys be fine, switching guys in and out of there on a play-by-play or series-by-series basis, or do you want to go into a game having just one guy to play however many snaps they have to there?
no, to me, I think I've been fortunate enough to kind of be in this situation that I was in when I was in Minnesota. We had 3 really good corners, and then we had 2 really, and then we drafted Trey Waynes. And then Trey kind of came on like, oh, okay, well, this young guy can play. So I didn't think it was fair to sit him down a whole year and then not get any reps, because now you're losing a year. If you don't play, you lose a year to me. I think you get experience, and that doesn't mean he's going to start. That doesn't mean he's going to do anything like that. And I think, from what I've heard about and seen about Eric Stokes and even other guys, I think we got 5 or 6 or 7 guys that can actually play, in the NFL. And they may not be all experienced, but, just kind of like the same thing we did with Sully last year. He had never really played. Next thing you know, he played maybe 600 snaps, playing nickel. And I thought he did a really good job. And then we get fortunate enough to draft a young kid that can really play. We got Kevin back. So now we got a lot of guys. And it's like, okay, what are you going to do with these guys? Well, my job is to put the best guys out there. And if one guy gets tired, put another guy in there. I don't think that, the guys say, hey, coach, I got to be the starter. I got to play the whole game, especially when you got good football players, because the guys understand.
So, Jerry, what do you think you'll be able to do with Stokes right away? I mean, you got a lot of guys there. Can you get on the field right away or no?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think, John and Kevin understands that, if they get tired, why wouldn't you put a good football player in there? To me, like I said, I just think that we got a lot of good young guys, and they're all still young, relatively. When you play in this league and you're 5 years or less, you're young. So we can play guys, and it's not like you handcuffed and you say, hey, these 2 guys are clearly better than the other guys you have. Again, some point in time, Stokes is going to be on the field, and they want to know, can he go out there and do what he's supposed to do and we not lose the game? I think that's what football players want to know. Can you play at a high level? Can they cheer for you while I'm getting some Gatorade or something, or taking a series off? And I think that's really what the league is kind of coming to now, because no one's going to play you in 11 personnel, 12 personnel in regular anymore. They don't do that. So you got to play nickel pretty much 60% of the time in the game. And because of that, then you got to have good corners, and you can't just say one guy's going to be the starter. Now, if we didn't have another guy like Stokes, then I'm like, okay, Kevin and Jai the guys. But you got Stokes, who's a good football player, and I think, he's going to be on the football field at some point in time on Sunday.
Jerry, you saw an awful lot of Drew Brees, obviously. I mean, just the points of emphasis for your guys going up against an arm like Winston versus, the cerebral guy like Drew.
Well, whenever you look at Jameis Winston, he can throw the deep ball very well. He showed that in preseason, and he can drop it in there wherever he needs to. So, he has an arm that's going to get you about 55 or 60 yards in the air. I mean, I played against him when he was at Tampa, and he did the same thing. He's going to throw the ball deep. So that gives you a good chance to, you got to be able to cover their receivers, and I think they got about 3 or 4 good receivers there. The thing is that you can't go in and say, well, there's no big-name guys there. Well, the NFL, there's good football players on every team. And you got good quarterbacks, and they're going to get them the ball. So your job is to go out there and cover the guys that they have. And we know we got to cover deep now, to where I know sometimes people say, well, Drew couldn't do this. But the good thing about Drew, just going up against him, he got the ball out of his hands. And he got to the guys that was making plays. So that was different than Drew. But I think Jameis Winston is a different quarterback. Even Hill is a different quarterback. He can throw the ball deep also. So you can't just all of a sudden say, well, we don't have Drew Brees, and you take a deep breath. you probably got to cover longer. And then that third corner is going to be a little bit more important for you, because if you're running 50 yards down the field, you want to put somebody in, because they put receivers in different too.
Marquez Callaway has kind of had a big preseason for them. What's caught your attention about him and what he can do, what problems he can cause?
Well, you can see he has great hands. He's done some great things, like on the fade route. I watched him against Jacksonville, and he got a good one-hand touchdown there. Then all of a sudden, I don't know if that was against it must have been Jacksonville also, where he ran the post route and got a touchdown there. So, you can see that the young guys, they doing a really good job of making plays when the ball is presented. And these are not short throws. These are 40, 50-yard throws. So those guys are actually big enough to go get the ball out the air. And that's what, it doesn't matter who Sean Payton put out on the football field. The offense looks the same. Again, you don't have Drew, you got Jameson Winston. You don't have Michael Thomas, you got another receiver. And those guys are just doing the same thing. I remember watching him when he was at the Cowboys, exactly the same thing. They had Michael Irvin and they had Alvin Harper. Offense was exactly the same.
Jerry, how much do they stress your ability to see what's going on, your corners, your safeties? How much do they stress, just how they're going to react and what they think they're going to see versus what they actually see?
Well, I think we watched our game from last year, which was good to see us playing against New Orleans. And then when you're watching the preseason, of course, you didn't see Alvin in the game or anything like that. And so we know that they're hiding some stuff from us. But the thing we got to do is go out there and play at a high level with what we've been dealt. We know we got to cover. We got to take away the deep balls. We got to do those things no matter who's out on the football field. And then we got to be great tacklers. I think that's the thing that we have to be able to tackle in open space this week more than anything, because they got a guy that's very dangerous in space. And if you give him any room, then you're going to be in trouble.
Jerry, I don't know if Vernon's going to be up this week, but let's say Savage is in a slide. How ready is Henry to play some meaningful snaps alongside Amos back there?
Well, to me, I think any guy that we have up has to be ready. We actually been giving Henry and, like you said, other guys, thumping guys like that in preseason, some reps. But now all of a sudden, here you are, the season's going to go on, and there's a guy that may need some water, maybe down, maybe nicked or something. That next guy got to be ready. I think one thing Joe tells the guys, which I think is really good, is that there is no backups in the NFL. You are one play from being a starter. And if you don't think like that, you're going to be in trouble. And so we kind of put pressure on guys. I thought we've done a good job this year of putting Henry in situations where, hey, you got to go cover, get Savage out, you in, get Adrian out, you in. So now he understands that I don't have to play by myself, but you got to uphold your end of the bargain now. You can't rely on the other 10 guys to do your job. You got to be able to do your job. And I think he's done a good job doing that.
Two more.
I know he's not specifically just up to you guys, but how do you handle Alvin Kamara?
You hope he catch a cramp. No, for real. The guy's a good football player. When you see him in space, he does so much amazing things that you can't just think that one guy's going to get him down. You have to be a really good tackler in space. You have to understand that this guy's a really jump cut football player. He's tough running between the tackles, and then he can exploit you running outside. So, the thing we can't do is we can't, put the whole game plan on him and then give up deep balls. But what you can't do is you can't just think you're going to stop the deep ball and then don't have any attention to him. So the big thing we got to do is make sure that we don't let them get started, and especially him in space. I think he's probably the most dangerous guy in the NFL in space right now.
Hey, Jerry, when Adrian Amos came out, you're a good player. But to me, I think I've seen him take a step every year. He's come in here and been more of a vocal leader or spokesperson on the defense. What's the most that he gives you at this point?
Well, to me, I think he gives me, he's stable. He's solid. I knew he's a good football player at Chicago, but when you see him in here, he's a guy that studies. He's a guy that takes notes. He's always sitting in front of class. He's always talking about what things can do and what should be done. And I think that it's almost like having another coach on the field. And when you can do that, you have a better unit, because now he can take what you want him to do and take it to the football field. And as a coach, you know you can't cross the line. So Adrian does a lot of that. You know, what you don't see in the meeting room, he does that. And I think that's what the young guys really respect him about. He may not be the most athletic, but you see him making his plays. You know, he doesn't rely on other guys to make his plays, but he does something mentally that a lot of young guys don't do. And so that's what I really appreciate him about, understanding how to be a leader in the room, but then show up on the football field and make your own plays.